So I already recorded most of this already, and I'm not gonna really stutter as much. So this is my deep look and rambling. There's been like pistols, rifles, so I thought heavy weapons should have a ranged variant, right? So I thought sniper. The attack is 20 times distance, and the maximum distance is 50 studs, divided by 0.25 or 1/4, has 50 penetration and 10 chip, and you can also aim. This aim is just like it tells you if your bullet is gonna hit or miss by like glowing the torso area or whatever, right? So these are the talents for now. Um, and I'll explain the symbols a little later. Focus is self-explanatory. If you stand still, you will get a 5% damage increase to the weapon in general, right? This is in general. So this then goes to um the other talents that you can grab: steadfast, one-hand snipers. So basically the one-hand talent for like hammers and heavy weapons in general, right? So if one-handed, you have quicker reload, fire rate, but reduced damage, and quicker aiming and more precise aim, which is like a larger hitbox for the bullet and like the little spread that comes out of the barrel. So there's this another path. Silent marksman. Shooting is stealthier. Suppress counts as stealth kill. So when you assassinate, the enemy will immediately fall to the ground and are they stunned or basically instantly killed, depending on your scaling of heavy weapon and or agility, right? Because there's like talent cards for that. So it counts, but that does not work for PvP because I know how overpowered that would be. You would get instantly downed from long ranges. I mean, then again, there could be a cap of where the bullet will not hit or disappear. And I'm letting that for you guys to decide. But the people who watches this. So this doesn't work for PvP. Silent marksman does not work for PvP. Focus works for PvP. So this is PvE. This is PvE. And more lenient towards the stronger side, right? So be warned, right? If you take the focus path, if you move, you will lose that 5%. And you now have this talent card or a path of it called build up or whatever, right? I call it build up. I'll call it build up for now. If you are at maximum range for the sniper, impact damage is increased by 5%. So this works for the bullet, and this is not for the gun. So when the bullet hits, it will have a 5% damage increase. And as it travels, it builds up that damage. So if you're not at maximum range, that's okay, because now you'll have a 4% increase on top of the 5% increase. So this talent goes with this talent. Focus talent. So this is the focus path. This is the focus path. This just that when you choose silent marksman, you cannot just know that it will not work for PvP. So don't try to put it on PvP builds. It's more lenient towards PvE. This is the kind of cards that you would want for PvP. This kind of too. I mean, these are all retrospectively. You can use them in PvE or PvP, but I suggest that you take whatever card feels right to you. So now we go over to this talent path and talent cards of close quarters. When you are close to an enemy, deal 5% more damage. So this is in general. But if you take this card, you cannot take you cannot take the focus path. And I'm gonna make that a little neater. You cannot take the focus path. So once you take this, you cannot take the focus path because it indirectly states if you are standing still. And I know some people are going to stand still during close quarter combats because they know how to parry. They know how to perfectly parry like NPCs, and you would be basically doing 15% more damage. And I know, technically, right? Any movement counts, and whatever movements are very specific, and I choose this, or this is my preference. If you frame perfect dodge, you dodge. You use a mantra, right? You use a mantra to push the enemy back, maybe, right? But you're still standing still, right? And you didn't get flourished or anything, right? If you dodge, vent, frame perfect dodge, or use a mantra, right? Use a mantra or whatever. Parrying does not count. If you parry, that's fine. If you parry, that's fine. If you get parried, that's fine. It still holds up. It still holds up that 5% damage increase, right? So be my guest and try and get some snipes. Be my guest, but just know if you move even an inch, it is gone. Like you will lose that 5% damage on the spot, and that build up damage is now gone. So you have to build it back up by standing still again for 5 seconds at maximum range. And if you move, you reset that timer basically, but you also decrease the damage. By going forward, you decrease the damage. By going backwards, you're already at the cap, so it wouldn't matter. But maximum range, I don't know what could be maximum range because the attack is getting multiplied by distance. So it has to balance out somehow. Because if you're at 1,000 studs, I don't want the sniper doing 1,000 damage and one tapping you. So, yeah, this is like it has to kind of leeway, like the distance divided by 100. So yes and no, that would suck because if you're at like 5 studs, that's only about 500 times 20, which is 20.005, which is not that big of a damage increase, but I'm gonna say anything that is lower than 100 studs is 1. Because 100 over 100 is 1. So if you're at 100 studs, you will only get a 1 damage boost. If that makes sense. If you go to 200, you now have 2 times 2. You have times 2. Okay, not plus 1 times 1. So you'd only get 20. So at least it's not doing less damage than you expected. So times 2 times like 2.5, whatever, right? You will get times that. But whatever the damage increases, because the damage cap, right? There's gotta be a damage cap. Of course there's a damage cap. So maybe beyond I'd say a good 3. Because 60 damage is kind of absurd. Maybe just like beyond 3. Or at 3, sorry. At 3 it caps. Because that's 60 damage. Now, granted, it is I don't know how to balance this. I now realize that I can't really balance this. So, if we put it over 1,000, that's so bad. Because now if you go into 200, you get around like 2 over 10 basically. Yeah, 2 over 10. This is simplified. So that's like 2/10. That's 2/10 times 20. So yeah, that's a little fair. That's more fair in general. I mean, think about it as this way: if you were at 500 studs divided by 1,000, you'd get basically 0.5 or a half. You get times a half, and 20 times 0.5, which is 2, you'd get 40. So yeah, I'd say divided by 1,000. That's the only way I can find this physically balanced. Divided by 1,000. That's your formula. Cause I'm not about to slap time onto this. Cause Lord have mercy, I slap time on that. So you now have this one, close quarters combat. Or close quarters, right? When you're close to an enemy, you deal 5% more damage. Because here's another talent card. Here's another talent card for close quarters, right? Or rather, the focus path, right? So if you are close up, right? The closer, the nearer you are, the better. Essentially, you get you start at 10%. So at 10% damage. No, wait. You start at 5%, and you go up to 10%. Maybe 2% to 5. No, to 10. 2% to 10. So that 2% is that you're farther away. Essentially, you're far. So it's only 2%. So this is only obtained if you have this. So if you have this, you get this. But if you have these two, you don't get the focus path. You don't get it. Right? But you can get this. So this you can get. I know this arrow is a little bad, so I'm just gonna put it aiming up towards this area. So just know this arrow is pointing towards the focus path. Fine too. So if you get this, if you get the build up talent card, you are able to have this as well. Because although it says maximum range, right? That maximum range can be anything. So just range in general, right? And range in general. So you will get increased by 5%. It's not that much. 5%. 5%, fellas. You're not getting better damage. So if you are, yeah, because like this is the only way I can balance it. Because if you're far away, you're gonna do a shit ton of damage. On top of the fact that it's 20 times distance, or by default it's 20, and then you don't know that it's being times by distance. if you go far away or closer. Because if you go closer, now you have a negative, right? If you get closer, you now have negative numbers. So I'm not gonna let that happen, and the only way I'm gonna let that happen is the close quarter talent cards. So distance is the matter of your position, and then how many studs you are away from somebody. But they don't know that. So it's distance divided by 1,000. So if they were at 100 studs, which is basically 1/10, you get 20 times 1/10, which is still 20, but they're at a range. They're at a range of 10 studs. So it will increase by 5%, have a better hitbox, and have a build-up. Granted, the build-up is going to scale with distance, because again, it says if you are at maximum range, or range in general, it will build up impact damage for the bullet, not the little spread that comes out of the barrel, the bullet. This focus is in general, so it boosts the bullet and the blast coming out of the barrel. So you can still get focused. You can still get focus. You can't get the full path of focus. And you can get close quarters. So if you get close quarters, you can take the focus talent card, but you won't get the full set. That makes sense, because I realized that if you had both close quarters and focus, you'd basically be doing so much damage. So if you take one, you cannot take the other. It is basically like blue lightning and deep woken. You either go yellow lightning, and if you go blue lightning, you have to commit. Because if you don't commit, your build is now bad. Your build is bad. So you guys get to choose. If you want to go close up to people, close quarter talent cards are your game. If you want to be as far as away from people, focus is the way to go. Focus is PvE mainly. That's its main game. Close quarters is PvP, because people like to go close quarters, but people like to, since this is a ranged weapon, you want some range. So if your opponent is far away from you, they're basically giving you that distance that you need. Because remember, it's your position. If the enemy is far away, that counts. That counts. That counts. That counts as distance between you and somebody. So if they're far away, you will get that increase. You will get that increase and build up on top of like the range. So calculating the range and how much damage it's gonna do. So by your enemy moving, that still counts because the bullet travels. So it's building up. You're standing still, or I suppose you're standing still, and you're gonna do a lot of damage. Not much damage, but hey, you're gonna do some good damage. So, yeah, so this is kind of like my small idea. Talent cards are not fully fleshed out, and I plan to talk about this a little more because I'm actually very passionate about this. But this is my idea. This is my deep woken ramblings, right? A sniper. I just simply want a sniper because it would be so fun. Because pistol is kind of fun. It's it's pretty funny to make some builds based off of like anime, or like, make a Trigun reference, right? So yeah, it's fun to make those one-handed build gun pistols or whatever, but it's not fun to play it. Like, I don't play light, I play medium and heavy. Medium has rifles. Heavy doesn't have that. So, how would melee combat look like? And I'm going to expand this more. Sorry if this hurts your eyes, anybody. So I'm gonna use the remaining of the space to demonstrate the attack patterns. So just picture this as the rifle, because it kind of is the rifle. You know, a fully drawn one. So this is the sniper rifle. Gee, oh. This is gonna be the sniper, right? The rifle, right? You would go one shot or blast, right? You'd blast, or shoot if you have bullets, or basically blast. So blast times 2. Then you would grab it by the barrel and swing it around towards your enemy, hitting them with the stock. So basically, rifle gameplay. Like when you melee someone with rifle, you would basically swing your stock at them, right? Like a low baseball hit, as people would say. And I would demonstrate a clip right now. Probably would. I think it's probably gonna play. I don't know. But you would basically grab your rifle and hit them with the butt of your stock, because that's how you would melee. Like that's how you would melee in any FPS game. You would use the butt of your stock, right? So you would use the butt of your stock, but you would swing it. You would swing it. You'd swing it actually like not low baseball hit, but high baseball hit. So you'd get high. So it would be like this, basically. So it would swing around, and it would hit them with the stock. The crit is a very good one. The crit is you'd kneel and fire. You'd basically you'd knee them, like you'd do a quick knee or a kneel and shoot. So how does one hand and two hand differ? One hand, if you're one handing a sniper, I know it's wacky. If you're one handing, you'll only use one hand to whip the sniper around and hit them with the stock. So the M1 is the same. You would shoot, you would shoot, quickly reload with one hand, basically. So this is how you'd reload. So you'd shoot, and then you take your rifle, right? You take your rifle, and your character would quickly bolt it. So you bolt it, and then quickly fire. Or it can be strictly two-handed. I don't care, right? But one-handed, because why not? You'd quickly bolt in between shots, so it's slower for one-handed, but it's quick. It's very quick reload. You'd quickly reload and shoot. And that's where crits differ. You would just simply knee them. You'd use your knee. You'd knee them into the stomach or whatever, right? And then shoot them. Shoot them away. Because that's what a crit does. It either finishes a flourish or it actually just knocks them into a wall. I mean, at least you're basically gaining distance. right? You're still gaining this distance. So that's my point. That's my point. If you take close quarters, you're still close to them. And if you don't have close quarters, you're still gaining distance. So you still get a damage buff. So it's very good and rewarding. The issue is your range. It matters if you're long, if you're actually far, but if your opponent is far away from you, it still counts. It still counts, right? It still counts. So where you are and where your opponent is, distance. It's all about distance. If your opponent is close to you, close quarters is going to be your life savior. But if your opponent is going to be far away, at least you have one talent card of focus, but you have close quarters. But if your opponent, if you know that your opponent is like always going to be far away, like NPCs, right? Then focus path is the way to go. So it's a risk and reward. If you want to be close quarters, you can. You still get a damage buff. If you want to be long range, you still get a better damage buff because you're playing this way. So the playstyle really just kind of hammer in this idea that range will be your friend. It will always be your friend with snipers. So, to wrap up everything, snipers. It'd be really cool if we had them. But I know this is going to take a lot of balancing, a lot of better drawings to actually make this work, right? So this is my deep looking map, and so we give it there. Right? So before I end, I'd like to draw something. This is the best drawing. Trust me, guys. It's a thumbs up. So yeah, thank you for listening, and peace.